Preparing for a client services representative at Bank of America interview? You've reached Candy Mentor, and this video is for you. We'll walk through 20 key questions you're likely to face. For each question, you'll see a sample answer followed by the key points to cover. Subscribe, like, and share, and drop a topic request in the comments. Question 1. Walk me through your background and why you are interested in a client services representative role at Bank of America. I'd position myself as a client-first problem solver with experience handling questions, calming frustrated customers, and following procedures accurately. What attracts me to Bank of America is the scale of the client base and the emphasis on responsible growth. In this role, I'd focus on making each interaction easy, protecting the client's information, and identifying when a banker or specialist can provide deeper help beyond the immediate request. While answering, focus on relevant customer service experience, comfort with banking basics, motivation for Bank of America, professionalism, accuracy, confidentiality, and how you would add value in a high-volume client-facing environment. Question 2. What does excellent client service mean to you in a banking environment? Great client service means the client feels heard, helped, and confident about the next step. I would start by listening carefully, confirming the issue, and using plain language rather than jargon. If I cannot solve something immediately, I set expectations, explain the process, and follow through. In banking, strong service also means accuracy, privacy, and risk awareness, because a friendly answer is not enough if it creates an error or compliance issue. Make sure to cover listening, empathy, first contact resolution, clear communication, follow-through, and the extra responsibility banking service has around privacy, accuracy, compliance, and client confidence. Question 3. How would you handle a client who is angry about a fee on their account? I would first let the client explain without interrupting, then acknowledge the frustration rather than argue about the fee. Next, I'd review the account details, policy, and any available options, such as a waiver review or explanation of how to avoid future fees. I would stay calm, avoid promises I cannot approve, and document the interaction. The goal is to solve what I can while preserving trust and following Bank of America policy. In your answer, talk about de-escalation, active listening, reviewing facts before responding, explaining policy without sounding defensive, offering permissible options, documenting the contact, and protecting the relationship. Question 4. How would you protect confidential client information during your daily work? Client information is one of the most sensitive parts of the job. I would verify identity using approved procedures before discussing account details. Avoid saying confidential information where others can hear, and never access accounts without a business reason. If a caller pressures me to skip verification, that is a warning sign, not a shortcut. Protecting privacy supports client trust, fraud prevention, and the bank's regulatory responsibilities. Be sure to mention identity verification, need-to-know access, secure handling of account information, avoiding shortcuts under pressure, and why confidentiality connects directly to fraud prevention and regulatory trust. Question 5. This role can involve high call volume and repetitive requests. How do you stay effective under pressure? In a busy environment, I manage pressure by staying organized and present with the client in front of me. I use the system workflow, take concise notes, and avoid rushing through verification or compliance steps. If wait times are high, I still keep my tone calm and efficient. Speed matters, but accuracy protects the client and the bank. I would rather resolve the issue correctly once than create a second call. While answering, focus on prioritization under volume, calm tone, concise documentation, using workflows, not skipping controls, and balancing efficiency with accurate resolution in a queue-based banking environment. Question 6. How would you identify opportunities to refer a client to a banker or specialist without sounding pushy? I see referrals as matching a client need to the right resource, not pushing a product. For example, if a client mentions saving for a home, I might ask a simple follow-up, and if appropriate, connect them with a banker or lending specialist. I would be transparent and respectful if they are not interested. Done well, referrals improve the client relationship because the bank is solving a broader financial need. Make sure to cover needs-based referrals, listening for financial cues, avoiding aggressive sales language, respecting client choice, and connecting clients to bankers or specialists when appropriate. Question 7. Tell me about a time you made a mistake at work. How did you handle it? If I made an error, I would own it quickly, notify the appropriate supervisor if required, and focus on correcting the client impact. I would not hide the mistake or blame the system. After the issue is resolved, I'd look at why it happened, whether it was misunderstanding, distraction, or process knowledge, and adjust my approach. In banking, accountability is critical because small errors can affect money, trust, and compliance. In your answer, talk about ownership, quick escalation when needed, correcting client impact, transparent communication, root cause learning, and why mistakes in banking require accountability rather than defensiveness. Question 8. How would you explain an overdraft fee or account charge to a confused client? I would explain it in a simple timeline. For example, I'd review the available balance, the transaction posting order, and when the fee was assessed. I would avoid sounding judgmental and check whether any alerts, balance tools, or account auctions could help prevent the same issue. If the client asks for a reversal, I'd follow the approved process. The key is clarity. Clients often calm down when the numbers make sense. Be sure to mention using plain language, walking through transaction timing, avoiding judgment, explaining policy and prevention tools, and following approved procedures for any fee review request. Question 9. What would you do if a client reported suspicious activity on their account? If a client reports suspicious activity, I would treat it as urgent and follow the fraud workflow exactly. First, I'd verify the client, gather key transaction details, and help secure the account through approved steps. I would avoid speculating about liability or investigation outcomes. Then I'd explain next steps, timelines, and how to monitor the account. A calm, precise response helps the client feel protected during a stressful moment. While answering, focus on urgency, verification, fraud procedures, gathering transaction details, securing the account, avoiding promises about outcomes, and explaining next steps calmly to the client. Question 10. How comfortable are you helping clients with online banking, mobile app, or password issues? Many clients want digital convenience but get frustrated when something does not work. I would first understand the device, feature, and exact error, then walk them through basic steps patiently, such as password reset, app navigation, or setting alerts. I would not make assumptions about their tech comfort. If the issue requires escalation, I'd explain what will happen next. Digital support matters because it reduces friction and builds client independence. Make sure to cover patients with different technology comfort levels, troubleshooting basics, clear step-by-step guidance, security awareness, escalation when needed, and the importance of digital adoption. Question 11. Why do you want to work for Bank of America specifically? Bank of America interests me because it combines a large national platform with everyday client impact. A client services representative can help someone resolve a card issue, understand an account, or connect with the right financial solution. I also respect the bank's focus on responsible growth, risk discipline, and community presence. I want a role where service, accuracy, and professionalism matter on every interaction, not just occasionally. In your answer, talk about Bank of America's scale, client impact, responsible growth, risk discipline, community presence, training opportunities, and why the specific client services role fits you. Question 12. Tell me about a time you delivered excellent service to a difficult customer or client. In one retail role, a customer was upset because an order delay affected an important event. I listened first, confirmed the facts, and offered 2 realistic options instead of overpromising. I also followed up after the replacement shipped. The customer thanked me because I stayed calm and owned the process. That experience taught me that great service is not just being pleasant. It is taking responsibility until the issue is truly closed. Be sure to use a concise star. Question 13. How do you balance speed with accuracy when handling client requests? I balance speed and accuracy by knowing which steps can be efficient and which cannot be skipped. Verification, disclosures, and transaction details require full attention. For routine navigation or documentation, I can be concise and structured. If I feel rushed, I slow down at the decision point because mistakes take longer to fix than careful work takes to complete. In a bank, productivity is important, but quality protects the client relationship. While answering, focus on distinguishing efficient habits from non-negotiable controls, emphasizing verification and documentation, and showing that quality, compliance, and productivity can work together daily. Question 14. What would you do if a client asked you to make an exception that policy does not allow? I would show empathy without bending the rule. I might say, I understand why that is frustrating. Here is what I can do within our policy. Then I'd explain the reason in plain language and offer alternatives, such as escalation, documentation, or a different solution. I would avoid blaming compliance or sounding robotic. Clients may not like the answer, but they usually respect a calm explanation and a genuine effort to help. Make sure to cover empathy, policy adherence, plain language explanation, alternatives within authority, escalation options, no false promises, and keeping the client respected even when saying no. Question 15. How would you work with bankers, fraud teams, or other departments to resolve a client issue? A client services role is not isolated. It often connects clients to bankers, fraud teams, lending specialists, or operations. I would make handoffs clear by summarizing the client's issue, confirming what has already been done, and setting expectations with the client. Poor handoffs create repeated explanations and frustration. Strong teamwork makes the bank feel coordinated, which is especially important at a large institution like Bank of America. In your answer, talk about cross-functional handoffs, summarizing facts clearly, avoiding repeat work for the client, setting expectations, and collaborating with bankers, fraud, lending, or operations. Question 16. How would you explain a banking term or account feature to a client who does not understand it? I would translate the term into everyday language and check understanding without making the client feel embarrassed. For example, instead of saying available balance versus ledger balance and moving on, I'd explain which amount they can actually use today and why pending transactions matter. I would invite questions and use the account details carefully. Clear communication prevents confusion, repeat calls, and avoidable complaints for clients. Be sure to mention simplifying jargon, checking understanding respectfully, using examples like available balance or pending transactions, and recognizing that clear explanations reduce complaints and repeat contacts. Question 17. How do you stay motivated when you are measured on service quality, productivity, and accuracy metrics? I view metrics as feedback on both efficiency and client experience. I would track things like call quality, resolution rate, adherence, documentation accuracy, and any referral expectations. If one metric drops, I'd look for the cause rather than make excuses. For example, longer handle time may be acceptable during complex fraud issues, but not for routine requests. The best performance comes from consistent habits, not shortcuts. While answering, focus on common service metrics, ownership of performance, coaching receptiveness, quality versus handle time, documentation accuracy, and using data to improve habits without taking shortcuts. Question 18. Describe how you handle stress after a difficult call or client interaction. When I am under pressure, I focus on my tone, breathing, and the next correct step. Clients can hear stress, so I avoid speaking faster or sounding defensive. I also use available resources such as procedures, knowledge articles, or a supervisor, instead of guessing. After a difficult interaction, I reset quickly, so the next client receives the same level of service. Consistency is part of professionalism. Make sure to cover emotional control, calm tone, using procedures instead of guessing, resetting after difficult calls, and maintaining consistent service quality for every client. Question 19. Why are you interested in client services as a career path rather than another banking role? I am interested in client services because it sits at the point where banking becomes real for the customer. People may call about money, security, fees, or urgent needs, so the role requires patience and judgment. I also see it as a strong foundation for a banking career because I would learn products, systems, compliance, and client behavior. My goal is to become highly reliable in the role and grow from there. In your answer, talk about genuine interest in helping clients, learning banking products and systems, developing judgment, building a career foundation, and being reliable in an entry-level role. Question 20. What questions would you ask the interviewer at the end of a Bank of America Client Services representative interview? I would ask questions that show I care about performance and culture. 4. Be sure to mention asking thoughtful questions about training, success metrics, coaching, team culture, risk controls, and what top performers do differently in the role. If you are still with us, congratulations. You are much ahead of the rest and serious about preparing for your interview. We hope we were able to add value to your preparation and create some helpful content. Do not forget to like and share this video. Your small act can do great things for us.